Shalom and welcome to Psychology of the Parsha for Parshat Tetzaveh. A big segment of Parshat Tetzaveh speaks about the holy garments of the Kohanim, of the priests. As we know, as we were told, before or as we were receiving the Torah, Hashem calls us all. When I say all, I mean the entire Jewish people, Mamlechet Kohanim, a kingdom of priests. As he says, Va'atem tihiyu li Mamlechet Kohanim v'go kadosh. You shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. Thus, if the Kohanim have special and unique garments that they're supposed to wear, obviously that applies to us too. And in fact, there are various and many, a plenitude of laws that pertain to, relate to clothing, how you wear the clothing, how you dress, and so on. But I want to focus in on something which psychologically tends to bother people more often than you would imagine. And I get this question sometimes. I have gotten this question. Well, Rabbi, what's the big deal how I dress? What is this about that if you're a religious person, you dress a certain way, and there's a particular mode of dress? In fact, I recall vividly one person, his question was, you guys seem to be so much into the clothing, into the superficial, that you make such a big deal about, wearing just black pants or just wearing a white shirt. What's the difference? Wear anything, whatever goes. Here's the answer. The verse in this week's Parsha, when Hashem says to Moshe, Ve'asita bigdei kodesh, you shall make holy garments, la'aron achicha, for Aharon your brother, lechavod, for honor, u'letifares, and for splendor. So it's not just about honor, it's not just about holiness, but the Torah as it's about the honor and the splendor. You see, think about it for a moment. Just imagine yourself. When you're in the privacy of your own bedroom, there's no issue. You have no problem with wearing your pajamas. But if you go to the mall, it just doesn't seem right. Well, unless you're a teenager and that's the style, that's the fly-by-night style for that particular day. But a normal, healthy person, even though you're covered up, as far as the holiness is concerned, you're not immodest, you are not in any way showing any flesh, but yet your pajamas is a private thing. It's not honor, it doesn't bring you honor, it's certainly not splendor to walk in the mall that way. It just doesn't seem right. And certainly if you go to a wedding, especially if it's a black tie affair, you won't show up in a pair of jeans. And if you do, forget about the people who are giving you the dirty looks or not. You don't feel right. You feel out of place. You just don't fit in. There's something wrong. Something is not right. The idea is that if we are a holy nation, if we are a special people, if we are, as God says, the nation of priests, what does that mean? That we are constantly and continuously representing Hashem himself. Just like in the Holy Temple, the priests represented all of the Jewish people in the service to Hashem. In that sense, look at us collectively, the entire Jewish people, as the priests for the entire universe. Now they look up to us. When you have a public servant, they're expected, certainly while they're on duty, and in some cases even while they're off duty, to follow a certain higher code of behavior, a higher code of honor and respect. Why is that? Because they signed up for something, or they have been designated for a certain honorable task that is not just about themselves, the private person, but they represent something far bigger than themselves. Thus, and I'm not in any way suggesting that you have to have this mode of of dress, or that mode of dress, whether it be a round black hat or a square black hat, or to wear a shtreimel on Shabbos, a fur hat, or to wear a regular, brim down hat, a fedora, that is up to you and up to your tradition. But the general idea that a Jew covers up, a Jew wears respectable clothing, and specifically follows their tradition, whatever the tradition is, whatever your father did, whatever your grandfather wore, whatever his grandfather wore, more or less, again, in general, doesn't have to be the exact fabric or the exact make, but the general idea where you follow a certain code, a certain uniformed way of dress, that brings honor and splendor. So it's not about being particular about the dress, it's about being particular about not being dressed in a certain manner. So it's not the focus on, is it this color, is it that color? It's the focus of not being something outside of what that uniformed, traditional way that brings the honor and splendor. And the facts always speak for themselves. Anytime there's a new movement, anytime there's a new break, a new breach in societal norms, in the morals of society, always, if not every single time, almost always, but I'm certain it's always, it goes hand in hand with a new mode of dress, with a breaking out of something. That tells you a lot. Just some food for thought that the dress has a lot to do with the way you feel, or the way you feel has a lot to do with the way you're going to dress. In any case, may Hashem always provide you the means to have the nicest of dress, within reason, within modesty, but something that will complement you, the dresser, the one who's wearing the garments. Shalom.